You guys interested in seeing what 300 Blackout Subsonics do to a meat target? I was. Let's take a look. Stick around. Hey everybody, Randy Reviews It here. So, I've been scouring YouTube for years. I love watching ballistic videos, especially like meat targets or ballistic gel or things like that. Those are actually my favorite videos to watch, you know, like the old Shooting the Bull 410, TN Outdoors. Paul Harrell's meat target is legendary and things like that. And so now that I have this YouTube channel, I've always wanted to move a little bit towards that because those are my favorite things to watch. I want to see it in person. I want to experience it So that's what I did. And the reason I wanted to do it as well is I'm looking at, you know, evaluating home defense subsonic loads for 300 Blackout, how they perform, how they do, things like that. So this is going to be the first installment in a chain of videos because I didn't get through all the ammo I wanted to test with this, but I got 3 rounds today that we're going to be discussing and kind of moving forward with. And discussing, one, why I was disappointed in 2 of them, one that surprised me, and what I think the outcome is going to be down the road with things. So let's talk about the meat target test. What did I actually do to test these rounds? So I got some very meaty St. Louis style pork ribs. They were very meaty enough that I didn't feel the need that I needed to put, you know, pectoral tissue or anything on the front because they were thick. So we got some thick ribs. And then I got some bags of oranges, but also they had these tiny like watermelons at Walmart that fit like, that I was like, oh man, those will fit, you know, those will be great. Watermelon's probably a decent lung tissue simulant or something like that. You know, there's a lot of moisture there. Who knows? There's not a lot of moisture in lungs. There shouldn't be. But I know Paul Harrell uses oranges. And I was like, hey, you know, like watermelon might be all right. So I did that as well as some oranges. Then the second test, I wanted to, and so I have pork ribs in front, watermelon, pork ribs in back. So we got kind of, you know, to this. Then I did the high-tech fleece bullet stop that actually worked very, very well. I caught pretty much everything as far as bullet bases. There's some petals that sheared off, and we'll take a look at that down the road in this video. So that's our target setup. I took the shots from about 12 yards away, which is where my 300 Blackout, they told me like that's a good like sight-in thing is do 12. I felt very blessed because in the shooting of this target, I never once hit the table, and all the shots I fired hit exactly where they should. So that I didn't think was going to happen, and it did. So I'm very excited about that. So test 2, I took just a giant pork shoulder. Let's see what this does in just massive amounts of flesh. Like if you were going to shoot someone with my sort of femur, like what is that going to be like? So I got a big pork shoulder for each of these. I shot them as well. And I wanted to see, one, how did it do different between the two? Two, how did it perform overall? And then three, was it consistent, or should I say, am I interested in using the round after seeing what it does? All right. So without further ado, let's talk about the first shot. The first shot is the 196 grain Boar Axe, I believe it is, from Callaway Ballistics. So I'm a big fan of Callaway Ballistics. They usually offer the most reasonably priced ammo on the net. And there's code Randy Reviews It. It's the only code I have. Randy Reviews It, I think. So very cool on them. I asked them for if I could get my code. I shot 9,000 rounds, and you can see a review video on Callaway Ballistics over last year. So I hit them up and I was like, hey, can I try some of your actual hunting loads for 300 Blackout? And they were nice enough to provide me with a box of ammunition. And so that's what I tested this. I also have 205 grain Gorilla, like the solid copper expanding. And then I have 196 grain fracturing Punisher series Gorilla in this video as well. So let's talk about the Boar Axe first. So the Boar Axe I shot 2 times because the first time I covered the target with a t-shirt and it didn't give me a really good shot. So we'll see that now. So it didn't give me a good shot there. But the second target I shot with just kind of it open, the ribs, watermelon, that sort of thing. Caught them both in the fleece, and they look very, very similar. So we had great expansion. Everything spread out, it bent around, and it was all retained. None of the petals broke off. So that's what Boar Axe was supposed to do, and exactly what it did. And it juiced that watermelon. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, pretty wild results. Great time. I had a blast. The girlfriend and the kiddo got to see me shoot this target as well, and they're like, whoa, that was fun. So, first target, Boar Axe. Second target, Boar Axe. We got everything that we wanted here. Second target, or third target, I should say, second bullet, the Gorilla 205 grain. This is where things started going a little bit sour for me. So I shot this, and in both the pork shoulder and the meat target simulation with the ribs and the watermelon, it lost its petals, and it's not supposed to. So that's a problem because, you know, I just got back from Valor Ridge. Reed Henricks stresses you want to shoot someone in the spine box, you want to shut them down, you want to shoot them here. So you want that round to stay together, because if it goes off, you know, if I'm aiming here and it goes off over here, that's not what I wanted. That's not going to do what I need it to do either. So we want the round to stay together ideally. At least what I'm looking for in a round, that's what I want to happen. So I figured the Gorilla that I've seen perform pretty well, Mr. Guns and Gears video, and I don't think that anything was different. It's just my experience here was different, but it shed petals and it did not stay together the way that I wanted it to. And let's take a look at that now. So this is the shot, the original shot, and now we'll get into the pork shoulder as well. There we go. All right. So shot number 3, or I should say cartridge number 3, shot number 4 is the Gorilla Fracturing. So I bought this before taking the Valor Ridge class, and you know, I was like, oh man, it'll be like those G2 rounds and it'll shred everything, and that's what, you know, would be awesome. Well, yeah, I don't really want that after all. I think for a hunting round, it might make more sense. You know, if you get a misplaced shot hunting, you don't have to worry about someone shooting back necessarily. So if you can hit as many of, let's say a deer's vital organs with one shot, maybe it makes sense. But overall, the fracturing broke apart, had smaller bases, and had longer petals that fragmented upon impact. So let's take a look at that as well. All right, so now's the part of the video where we're going to get into a close-up analysis of all the rounds, and we'll walk through how they look and everything like that. So stick around. We'll come back with a conclusion. So let's get into a real close look at the 3 different 300 Blackout ammo types that we shot and recovered. So we have an extra Boar Axe here because when I shot the first target, it had a t-shirt on. You couldn't see that much of it, and we decided we wanted to do it without the t-shirts, which is why you see 3 here and then 2 for each of these. So this Boar Axe, you can see all 3 of them expanded pretty well, and all 3 of them kept all 3 of their petals. So none of the petals broke off at all on the Boar Axe. So you got this big hunking thing flying through. Look at these. This is wild to me. So these things did wild amounts of damage. They stayed together like we'd want, ideally, because if we're going through, we want as much mass and a wide amount so that we can hit, in the idea of a home defense, that spine box or the brain stem or something like that, that shuts down the human body immediately. So the more you have flying through that's staying together, that takes up a wider surface area, the more likely you are to hit the spot you're aiming at, It's just bigger bullet makes bigger hole. Bigger hole has a better chance of hitting what I aimed at. Or at least that's my theory on it. Maybe you guys would consider it something different. So this is where I started to doubt some things, though. So this is the Gorilla 205 grain, like solid copper expanding ones. So it's supposed to keep all of its petals. Like, I know Guns and Gears tested this and had good luck. I'm not saying that his test is invalid. Mike's an awesome dude. He got different results. He used ballistics gel. Maybe this is what happens when it hits bone. It sheds its petals a little bit too easily or something like that. So for a round that I expected to look like this when it was done, instead we get this. We kept one petal. There's not much diameter there, you can see, compared to something like that. Or, something like this. Something like this. And if you can see, there's even less diameter on this one, where we recovered one of the petals, but it's still not much. So this one, I think, for what it was supposed to do versus what it actually did, was the most disappointing out of them. This one did great. The Callaway Ballistics Boar Axe, like, I'm not saying this just because I like Callaway Ballistics, because I usually get my ammo from them and because they're pretty reasonable. But I didn't expect them to do as well as they did. Like, all honesty. And it crushed all expectations. And one thing that was said between this and this by my girlfriend is, wow, that didn't do as much as the first one. Like, you noticeably saw the target move a lot more with this. And maybe that means nothing, but to me, I saw a watermelon absolutely explode with one of these, where this one had just kind of cracked it and went through. And then last but not least, so this might be something, if you don't care about immediately stopping something, but you want to make sure you stop it, I guess is the way to think about it, or increase the likelihood of you stopping it, is this is the fracturing ammo. So this was meant to break off. So you can see here, the petals are a bit longer than the 205 grain ones, where they break off and things like that. This is meant to break off. So it broke off and we recovered 3 out of the 6 petals. And then you get a little bit smaller base, you can see, compared to the 205 grain. So a little bit smaller base where that flies through and continues to penetrate. But like I said, this is the only diameter you got then going where you aimed. All of these break off and maybe spread out or cast a net or don't go where you intended. So you may hit additional organs, heart, lungs, liver, all that sort of stuff with these little blades that break off. But if you were aiming at the spine box, this is giving you the most chance to hit your actual target because it's a lot of mass coming through, staying together, built, and overall a bigger hole like in the main channel. Whereas this has multiple channels, wound channels, wound tracks, whatever you want to call it. This was not supposed to have multiple channels, but definitely did. All right, so let's jump back into the video and wrap things up. All right, everyone, we're back for the conclusion here on the first installment of the 300 Blackout Subsonic testing. Overall, I'm really impressed with the Boar Axe, especially if you go to their website and look at the price per round. Like I said, you get free shipping over 200 potentially. So don't put in the code Randy reviews it or anything like that. Free shipping over 200, and I think like a 5 or a 10% discount. I'm trying to remember. I think it's 5%. Maybe it's 10%. Who knows? But check it out because you can get, if you buy enough of things, which their subsonic like 220 grains are what I shoot for range rounds. They're great. I forgot to talk about, I shot this through my V7 10.25 inch barrel, 1-in-7 twist for all these. I had great accuracy. I've had great accuracy with the Callaway Subsonic, the range rounds. I hit all my targets right away. I didn't hit the table, so it was great. So love that V7 upper. But overall, right now, the Boar Axe is the only one out of these 3 that is going to make it to the final round. And depending on, like if I was going to go hunting too, I'd reach for the Boar Axe as well. It's reasonably priced. It had great performance. Overall, Callaway Ballistics knocked it out of the park with this round. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Hope you love this video because I loved making it.